Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Welcome to our Quantum Field X39 team podcast. And this is a very special day as we have our very own David Schmidt here for today for a live interview. And we also have my beautiful co host, Marcy Preble, who's our Senior Presidential Director here with LifeWave, and our fearless leader, Miss Onyx Cole, who's also our Senior Presidential Director here with LifeWave. So without further ado, the reason we just want to say thank you for each and every one of you here for joining us today. We all deserve to get David's presence because of our global convention that was online. As a team, we have registered, we have voted all together and to win David's time. So give yourselves all a warm round of applause, okay? And it's going to be an incredible hour of just Q&A with really pertinent questions that came from the field. And now you can get to hear David answer it all live for you. Onyx, who is our Senior Presidential Director and also our leader, she is the #1 income female income earner in the direct sales. She has 3 beautiful daughters. She lives out in Florida, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her literally a year and a half ago. And all we can say is the rest is history, okay? And let me introduce Mr. David Schmidt. David is the inventor of LifeWave technology and the founder and CEO of LifeWave. David's experience in business and product development spans over 30 years and includes a formal education in management information systems and biology at Pace University in Pleasantville, New York. Globally, David is the holder of 94 issued patents, 30 pending with more being written. More than 70 of those issued patents are in the field of regenerative science and technology. Since the inception of LifeWave in 2002, David has overseen global operations of the company and has accelerated expansion into approximately over 100 countries with offices presently in the United States, Ireland, Japan, Taiwan, and now Philippines and Malaysia. So to add that to the list. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. David Schmidt. Hello, Mr. David. How are you today?
Thanks, Peter. Great to see you, and thanks for having me. Great to see Marcy. Onyx, great to see you, and congratulations to all of you. I'm so proud of the job that you've done, and really excited and looking forward to this hour that we have together.
Well, we're so glad that you could spend time with us. Peter, thank you for the nice introduction. Marcy, thank you for all you do for us and for really putting this together. This is just for me, it's the most beautiful group of leaders and people in the field, and everybody in this group really cares about each other. So it's always my privilege and my honor to be here and with each of you. So what we did today, David, is we've been pulling together everybody's questions, and then Marcy really kindly went through them all, and we put together basically conglomerate questions. So like there were many questions about stem cells or many questions about breast cancer or many questions about whatever it was. So if you in the field asked a specific question, you may not hear your exact question, but what we tried to do was be able to touch everybody in the teams as best we could. So if you don't mind, David, I'm just going to start asking questions, and I know you love answering questions. I've seen you do it so many times. Would that be okay?
Let's go. Sure,
Okay.
That'd be great.
So one of the questions that was asked is, why is activating the stem cells in the human body so important?
Yeah, so to answer that, we have to think about what happens with the stem cells in our body as we age. So, of course, we know that the stem cells are the universal cells. There's different types of stem cells, such as pluripotent stem cells. Then they divide, they become the multipotent stem cells. In other words, they differentiate. And then from multipotent stem cells, they differentiate into whatever they're going to become. So heart tissue, liver, lung, etc. And as we age, the stem cells age with the rest of the body. So some of the work that we did at the National University of Ireland is we would take donations of stem cells from people over the age of 60, and we would look at them. And what you see is that they don't move very well. They don't release growth factors the way that they're supposed to. So in other words, the stem cells, because they're going to become every other cell in the body, if they're not staying young and youthful, they're degrading, and they're not going to be able to heal the body and repair and cause our cells to function normally and healthy. So activating stem cells is both a general term and a technical term. And essentially what the stem cells will do is when there's an injury, part of what stem cells do is that when there's an injury, they will mobilize or activate and go to where they're needed so they can repair the injury. And this ability declines with age. So the idea was, is there a way, instead of injecting stem cells, that we could activate the stem cells already in our body, get them to function like younger, healthier cells, and get them to repair the damage that occurs in our body over time and as a result of the aging process. And this in turn would provide a very, very powerful anti-aging technology, and in fact, a youth renewal technology. So activation of stem cells is required for repair of injury, replacement of new tissue. And if we do it properly, we can help keep the body in a more youthful state. And the ultimate goal is going to be age reversal, right? We want to prevent and slow down and reverse aging if we can.
Beautiful. Okay, David, do you believe that we are beings of chemicals like the pharmaceutical companies want us to believe, or do you believe that we are beings of light? And can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so what's interesting, I think, is that for at least thousands of years, that in Eastern medicine, in different religions, Judaism, Christianity, pick a religion, people have been thought of as being beings of light. And I suppose in the West, we might have thought of this as being something very esoteric, but there's actually a basis for this. So there was a biophysicist in Germany, and his name was Fritz Popp. And his contribution to science was that he discovered that all living cells emit light. So what he did was he would take plant cells, animal, human cells, put them in a room that was completely dark, and then use a device called a photomultiplier tube and record coherent laser-like emissions of light from human cells. And over time, he came to the conclusion that these light emissions were coming from the DNA. And there's a good basis for believing that this is true. So we can now record the human aura. And this is not esoteric. It's a legitimate phenomena where our cells are emitting light. Some of this is going to be infrared light, which is body heat, but other wavelengths exist in the visible light spectra and even into the UV. Now there is a study that's on our website that we did more than 10 years ago now with Dr. Gaetan Chevalier. And we did this study in Southern California. We also did the study with Dr. Carl Merritt, who's a medical doctor and well-known researcher in the field of bioenergy. And many people may recognize the name James Oshman. So Dr. Merritt does quite a bit of work with Jim Oshman. So what we did was we had a device where people would put their hand into it, and the device was completely created a dark room just for the hand. And we measured light emissions off the palm of the hand. And what we found is that using the energy patches, we could pull the cells into a greater state of coherence. So what happens is that as we age, the light emissions off of our body actually become leaky. In other words, the structure of the cell breaks down, and we start to lose control over the ability to control the way our cells release light. And by using the energy patches and by increasing energy output in the cell, it improves the coherence of the cell, and it improves the way our body releases light. So one other comment to this is Dr. Robert Becker, who wrote the book, The Body Electric, was drawn to the conclusion that it's the energetic principles of the body, the electrical systems, the magnetic systems, that control the chemistry. So this is information the big pharma doesn't want us to have, because it means that the energetic system controls the chemistry, and it's at least as important as the chemistry. So how do we use this information? Well, first, we are made up of chemicals, and so we should have a balanced diet, that's rich in nutrition, so we get all of the electrolytes, protein, all the macro and micronutrients into our body. So those are the building blocks. But we can use different types of energy fields and use devices like LifeWave, which provide low-level light therapy, to influence our biochemistry and achieve results that would not be attainable just with chemistry alone.
Great. That leads perfectly into my next question, which was, can you explain how the technology of X39 works? And is it a frequency technology, or is it a light technology, or what is the difference?
So wavelength and frequency are inversely proportional. So when we're talking about stimulating the body with light, the convention is to use wavelength. But we could describe light in terms of frequency as well. It's not the standard convention. So in other words, if we wanted to say that we wanted to treat the body with a band of orange light that might be effective in stimulating mitochondrial function, that would be 660 nanometers. We wouldn't say, oh, this is going to be this frequency in terahertz, what it converts over to. We would just say it's going to be in nanometers as a wavelength, but they're inversely proportional to one another. Now, the difference, though, between LifeWave and frequency medicine, I suppose, is often thought of as we have, let's say, an electrical signal we're putting into the body, we're using magnetic therapy, and we're treating the body with a specific frequency. And I have over 70 patents on this, so I know the field pretty well, and we've put quite a bit of time into it. And there is quite a bit of good that can come out of frequency-based medicine, but like anything else, it's all a matter of how you do it, and there's some really good products that are out there. What's really different about LifeWave is that, and here's a way to describe it, is that if we turn on the radio, I don't know if anybody uses radio anymore, but if they do, the reason why we can hear a sound is because there's a wave that's being transmitted, and the wave is encoded with information. Now, in frequency medicine, if we want to refer to it that way, we might put a sine wave into the body, and the sine wave or square wave is repeating at a certain frequency. So let's say it's repeating at 100 hertz or 500 hertz, whatever frequency is being used. That frequency doesn't contain any information. And so as a result, if you were to hear that, it would just sound like a hum, and that's it. Now, in the example with radio, that's like LifeWave. What we're doing is blending different wavelengths of light so they can be encoded with information that the body can interpret. And so if we were just to stimulate the body with light, we couldn't elevate copper peptide, we couldn't elevate glutathione or carnosine or anything that any of our products do. So the real benefit behind the technology is that we can use very, very low levels of light that are encoded with information to cause the body to produce these very specific biochemical changes. And of course, we just had a clinical study published using blood data, you know, gold standard, in a 60-person double-blind placebo-controlled study where we measure the blood, and sure enough, stimulating with X39, we show statistically significant increases in copper peptide. So the way the technology is working, we stimulate the body with different wavelengths of light, and this leads to very beneficial changes in the biochemistry of the body.
Okay. And so with the X39, we're stimulating it with light, which is elevating the GHK, correct?
Right. Well, GHK and GHK-Cu.
Okay. And so the GHK is actually activating your stem cells and telling them to make more stem cells and to make the stem cells younger?
Yes. Yes. So now this, what's so interesting about this, and we have to give thanks to Dr. Lauren Picard. The guy is a true genius. He should win a Nobel Prize. Incredible person, devoted over 45 years of his life to this research, and he's still going strong. And so he began this work back in the 60s. And, you know, to put this in proper frame, to show you how far ahead of his time he was, back then, it was believed, and even up until recently, that you're born, you age, and then you die. And Dr. Picard made the observation, hey, if I take these old liver cells from someone that's 80 years old, and I incubate them in the blood from someone that's in their 20s, all of a sudden, those cells start to behave like younger cells. What's in the blood that's doing it? And he was eventually able to isolate it and find out that it was copper peptide.
Wow.
But the story didn't end there. He started to see, I think you like superheroes, right? Mm-hmm. So usually, okay, so let's talk about like the X-Men, right? So you have Wolverine, and his ability is he can heal. And you've got Magneto, and he can control magnetism. And you've got Professor Xavier, he's got these mind powers. Well, a lot of times in the body, peptides have very, very specific powers. They have very specific functions. But what he was finding with copper peptide was that it had many different functions in the body, and its actions were not very consistent with what you would normally think of as being the behavior of a peptide.
David, you're muted.
David, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go.
We didn't hear. We heard it was inconsistent with the peptide, and then you went mute.
Yeah, and so what he eventually discovered was that the reason why copper peptide was having all of these broad functions was because it was acting to reset the genes in our body to a more youthful state. And this was the real power of copper peptide, so that it wasn't just triggering one event, it was triggering multiple events by manipulating the genes in a very, very beneficial way. So the net end result is it will activate the P63 gene, and this causes the stem cells to mobilize. The stem cells are now functioning in a more youthful state, and they can do a better job at what they're supposed to do. But when you take copper peptide and you expose them to the stem cells in the skin, those stem cells revert to pluripotent stem cells, which are the universal cells. Those pluripotent cells now go into the blood, and they can be used to increase the total number of circulating stem cells so they can facilitate very rapid wound repair.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to take, full advantage of this, we want to make sure that we get adequate amounts of protein, healthy fats. We want to make sure we get dietary copper, basically give the body the building blocks. That way, when you're using X39, you can optimize the results.
So is the new study available online?
Yes. As a matter of fact, it posted today. And so it's going to be right at the top. You go to the science page and you'll see it right at the top.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've been hearing that by the age of 35, you lose 50% of your stem cells. And by 65, we've lost almost all of our stem cells. Why does this happen? And is there a place in the research that we can turn to that validates this statement? Is this a true statement? And is there a place we can turn to find the validation?
So what is true is that as we get over the age of 60, the function of the stem cells has diminished by about 60 to 80%. So that's been validated by Dr. Picard. But if we want to look a little bit further outside of his research, we look at something called the Hayflick limit. And this is related to the telomeres. So Hayflick limit is where when the cells divide, the telomeres become a little shorter each time. The telomeres are the rods on the ends of the chromosomes, and they control how many cell divisions we have. So by the time we reach around
And David, you need to unmute
Yep,
yourself
got it.
again. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Marcy. By the time we reach age 75, we've reached the Hayflick limit, and now the cells have lost the ability to reproduce, and that's bad news. And that means we run out of the ability to make new cells. So the stem cells are going to parallel the Hayflick limit. They're gonna bump into that as well. So one of the secrets to improving longevity and actually improving health span is to lengthen the telomeres, but do it in a controlled fashion. So yes, if someone was interested in looking at this, they could look at Dr. Picard's research on stem cell activity. They could look at the Hayflick limit, and there's any number. Evan Snyder, Dr. Evan Snyder is a very, very prominent stem cell researcher. When I had met him, he was at Sanford Burnham in La Jolla, California. He's done extensive research on how stem cells age and how stem cells are targeted towards specific injury sites. But this is something that's very well documented in the stem cell community, that by the time we reach age 75, there's virtually no more stem cells, or very little stem cell activity left in the body. Oh, sorry, Onyx, you're muted.
Unmute, sorry. Some of the questions that the team have asked, I know the answer to, but they want to ask you, which is perfect. So
Okay.
One of the questions is, can you use the X39 while on chemo?
Yeah, so as you know, we can't make any medical claims. We have not performed a clinical study on the use of X39 on people that are suffering with cancer. We were very fortunate to work with a medical doctor at Gemelli Hospital in Italy using our glutathione and energy enhancer patches. And this oncologist specializes in breast cancer. And so what we were looking to do is help women recover from chemotherapy and radiation. And he said that these were the best products that he had ever seen in terms of how quickly women recovered. So they had tried all types of products, natural products like ginseng and so forth. And he said when people use the energy and glutathione patches, they would have more energy, less nausea, they felt better, faster, sleep quality returned. these types of things. So if someone was interested in using X39, first they'd have to inform their oncologist. Most oncologists don't want people on any type of antioxidants or other supplements when going through chemo. So they might have to use it after the chemo. And by the way, you know, I personally don't believe in chemotherapy. I don't even think it's named properly. And there's many other effective therapies like ozone therapy, which are wonderful as a base therapy for treating cancer.
Okay. And so it leads right into the next question, because there were probably 6 or 7 questions that came up specifically about breast cancer protocol. I know that is something that's very dear to you as well, I believe because of your mother. So they asked, what would be the best breast cancer protocol is one of the questions that came up.
So it was probably a good opportunity to say that I'm not a medical doctor, and so any recommendations, they should take that to their doctor. So first thing is, if a woman has breast cancer, my recommendation is you start from the foundation and build up and take a look at what could be the potential reason as to why the cancer developed in the first place. Was it from having a poor diet? Was it from, you know, smoking, excessive alcohol, drug use? You know, if it's possible to pin down and identify what the cause could be, that, you know, that would of course be helpful, but it's not entirely necessary. So a couple things. When it comes to diet, one of the things that's coming out now is that ketogenic diets are very, very useful at starving cancer cells. So in other words, cancer cells thrive off of sugar. So if we go to a diet that's about 80% fat, 20% protein, the cancer cells now don't have fuel to reproduce. So there's very good research showing that ketogenic diets can be used as a way to be therapeutic as a treatment. The next thing that I'd be looking at is ozone therapy. So basically what happens is there's about 75 to 200 mils of blood that's withdrawn from the body. The blood is then exposed to ozone gas. It forms ozonide compounds. Your own blood then is injected back into your body. And now these ozonide compounds will act as an agent to directly destroy cancer cells. And it's important to know that when someone has a healthy immune system, they produce ozone and other oxygen radicals like peroxide that directly destroy cancer cells. So in fact, this is a way to augment the function of the immune system with something that's completely safe, completely non-toxic, and something your body produces anyway. Many people can be completely cured of cancer just with ozone therapy. Then there's other agents that can be used, natural compounds such as selenium, which about 800 micrograms a day, has very powerful anti-cancer activities. It can kill cancer cells on contact. Extracts of garlic contain a organic mineral known as germanium sesquioxide. It's called Ge132. And Ge132 is discovered in Japan as a naturally occurring organic semiconductor, and it prevents cancer cells from reproducing. So you go through, as an example, you met a doctor in Mexico once. He was using garlic juice and glutathione and had about an 85% success rate at treating cancer. So after about 3 weeks, the cancer cells are no longer dividing, the immune system is built up, and the immune system can destroy and attack cancer cells. Colostrum. There are a number of natural components in mother's milk. And so colostrum, there are maybe at least 4,000 clinical studies that show that compounds in colostrum have very powerful anti-cancer effects. So that's something that can be used to build up a person's immune system. You know, we could spend 2 hours kind of going through the list, but one thing that a woman would specifically want to look at is estrogen metabolism. Typical drug that women go on is Arimidex, which is relatively safe. And the idea is you first get the estrogen metabolism under control. A mild aromatase. There are mild aromatase inhibitors. Their natural DIM is one, which is found in broccoli, which is okay. And we found through our own research, and I'm not making a claim about our patch. I won't say how we did it. But we took a group of 6 women. We did a study and used medical infrared imaging, and they were in a pre-cancerous state. So in other words, their breast tissue had vascularized and the cancer cells were forming a network of blood supply to form a tumor. What we did was we elevated their glutathione levels, and in a period of about 3 months, that vascularization disappeared and the tumor never formed. So I would recommend that a woman go see a medical doctor about getting regular IV drips of vitamin C and glutathione as a minimum. Very inexpensive. Do it twice a week. And then alternatively, if you can get it, IVs of curcumin and DMSO. They're both very powerful anti-inflammatories, and they're good for all types of cancer. So, you know, bottom line, I know the word cancer can be really scary, but there is an abundance of natural, safe, effective, affordable compounds that are incredibly effective.
And you must be reading my mind because you did right through the next question, which is perfect. Is there a patch protocol that you would recommend?
Yeah, so any research that we might have done with patches and cancer, I can't talk about, because then I'd be making claims, and then,
Right.
you know, we'd have issues with the FDA. So I can't recommend specific protocols. If people wanted to use the patches that way, they'd have to speak with their doctor. We believe the patches to be safe, even when people have cancer. And if they wanted to use them as a protocol to help support their energy, their vitality, support immune health, they could do that, but under a doctor's supervision. So
Okay.
products like X39 and Eon specifically would be really good at supporting general health.
Okay, thank you. Can you wear the X39 if you have the MTHFR gene variant? And will it help with migraines that often come with that gene variant?
Yeah, so this is something that we haven't done a clinical study on, so we don't know the answer to that. Now, with respect to migraines, I'd recommend a few things. First, the Eon patch, because the Eon patch is going to cause a relaxation response in the autonomic nervous system. So it'll balance out the sympathetic and the parasympathetic mode of the nervous system. So this is going to be very, very good for anyone suffering with migraines. So a good place to apply the patch is someone could simply apply some pressure with their index finger to their neck. When they found a point that would be especially tight, they could apply the Eon patch there. I'd also recommend magnesium for people that suffer with migraines. And magnesium glycinate is good, but magnesium threonate gets into the brain much, much better. And that might be a little bit more useful for someone that's suffering with migraines. Another product that's pretty interesting, we kind of found this out by accident. We were doing research a number of years ago and looking at how to increase levels of acetylcholine in the brain. And we started to have women that were using the product we were investigating that we developed, and they started to notice their migraine headaches were going away. And I think we really pinned this down. There was phosphatidylserine that was in the product. So phosphatidylserine is a natural nutrient that gets into the brain for supporting neurotransmitters levels in the brain, but it causes a relaxation response. Oh yeah, by the way, the name of the magnesium is magnesium threonate. I saw the comment there.
Thank you.
And this other supplement is phosphatidylserine, S-E-R-I-N-E. So that could be one of a couple of things that people that are suffering with migraines could try. Definitely would also recommend the energy patches. They could be placed either at the temples. They're pretty effective. They could be applied to the large intestine 4 point down on the hand. They could be applied at the base of the neck. They've also been very effective for migraine headaches.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So do people who start on the X39 need to wear the X39 for the rest of their lives?
Well, it's kind of like vitamins. And so, we're so far, the way technology is that, if we want to keep our vitamin levels elevated, we have to get proper nutrition daily. And so if we want to keep our stem cells active, we're going to have to use the X39 patch till another technology is invented. But I would look at it as being a vitamin. We have to take it daily to get those benefits. It's just the way it is.
So if you use the X39 for a year and you see some shift in your body and you decide to, let's say you have a knee issue and you had knee pain, you started using X39 and after a few months, it went away and you kept using X39 for a year. After a year, you decided to stop using X39. What's going to happen? Are they going to explode?
No, no, it's kind of like anything else. It would be the levels of the nutrient would drift down over a relatively short period of time, but it would be quite a bit longer before someone might notice the impact of that. So in other words, someone could go with a vitamin deficiency for months or maybe even years before they would really know that they had a problem. It wouldn't be a good thing, but it might be a while before they really noticed that they had a problem. So it would be something along those lines.
Okay. Can you use and wear the X39 on your clothing, or can we put it on a pet's collar?
Yeah, so my daughter and I, we have 2 dogs. We have an Australian Shepherd and a Rottweiler, and we will regularly put patches on their collars. And that seems to work pretty well. We actually have a study that we did with dogs where we did that, and we showed that it can reduce their levels of pain by reducing their inflammation. So that works very, very well with pets. Yeah, now on clothing, if someone was allergic to the adhesive, and that might be 1 out of every 10,000 people. The adhesive is made by 3M. It's hypoallergenic. And so 1 out of 10,000 people have an allergy. They can put it on the clothing and it'll work just fine. It doesn't have to come in contact with the skin.
To be effective. So I know I have a girlfriend who has a son who is autistic and he doesn't like anything on his skin. So she puts the patch right on his tag, basically, of his shirt, and has found huge results just doing it that way. The patch is effective whether it's physically stuck to the body, whether it's in my bra, whether it's in my pocket, or whether it's stuck to my clothing. Is that right?
That's right, because the patches are activated by body heat. Body heat is infrared light, and it's going to go right through clothing, and it's going to go out a considerable distance from the body, maybe several feet. So, yeah, that's the communication pathway, so no issue at all.
Okay, great. So why do we need to wear the patch for 12 hours and then take it off and rest and rejuvenate for 12 hours?
So when we do our clinical studies, that's the protocol that we use. 12 hours is a convention that we've developed over the years in our testing. We may find that 14 hours is better someday, or 8 hours is better, but we found consistently that 12 hours works. So why is it that you have to take the patch off, though, which is part of the question. And the reason is that in phototherapy and light therapy, there is a phenomena called attenuation or accommodation. And what it simply means is that if you keep stimulating the body, eventually the body stops responding. It's like if you took someone and you kept giving them coffee every day, eventually that 1 cup of coffee is not going to wake them up. The body is adapted to it. So in light therapy, it's the same thing. If we left the patches on all the time, eventually the body would stop responding to the signal. So we have to have a cycle that's on and off. And this is in keeping with the natural cycles of the body. So for example, we're not producing melatonin all day. We're producing melatonin at night because that's when we need it to help us relax and fall asleep. With hormone levels, like in men with testosterone, those testosterone levels are going to be peaking around 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. They're not peaking all day. So the body has these natural rhythms and cycles, and we have to be respectful of those cycles. So there needs to be an on and an off phase.
Okay. And so that leads me to the next question about should we be wearing the X39 during the day or during the night, or is one better than the other?
You know, we don't know yet. When we've done our studies, everyone wears the patch during the day. And so we haven't determined yet whether or not it's better to use it during the day or night. What we know is that it's incredibly effective during the day. Whether or not someone might benefit more at night, we don't know yet. But we do know it's incredibly effective during the day.
Okay. What about people who are dealing with neuropathy or nerve issues? Has the X39 been something that will help with that?
Well, let's see. If I give you the answer to that question, I'll be claiming that we're treating a medical condition. So I'm going to answer a little bit differently. Yeah, I'll rephrase it, and I'll start out by saying this way. So first of all, starting 12 years ago, we did research on diabetic and idiopathic neuropathy. And we were successful in a human trial. We worked with a medical doctor that's a neurosurgeon, and we were able to reverse early stage diabetic neuropathy in all 30 people.
Wow.
And we were able to actually regrow their peripheral nerves.
Wow.
So for people that aren't familiar with this, when someone has chronic high blood sugar, the blood sugar will damage the nerves, and this affects the peripheral nerves in the feet. When the nerves begin to become compromised, this results in loss of feeling, pain. People can feel it walking on gravel. And then in later stage neuropathy, ulcerations can form. And in 15–20% of cases, this is going to result in amputation. So this is a very, very serious condition. So what we wanted to do was find out, could we activate the stem cells in the body specifically to repair the peripheral nerves and reverse the neuropathy? And we did that with electromagnetism. So a specific form of electromagnetic device that we patented. Now with copper peptide, because it activates stem cells, there is research work, if people look, that shows that it will induce neurogenesis, meaning that it will form new nerves. But we can't make that claim about X39, but with copper peptide, it shows up in the literature.
Interesting. Okay. Can you wear the patches? Sorry. Are the patches effective if they've been left in a hot car or EMF from the phones or from computers? Does that make the patches not work, or what do we think about the effectiveness?
Yeah. So for sure, leaving the patches in a car in the hot Florida sun is not going to be a good idea, right? The heat will definitely degrade them. And what I'd recommend, if somebody did that by accident, they contact customer service. say, hey, I've got this new sleeve and I left it in my car, I'd like to exchange it, and we'll go ahead and do that. So we don't want to leave them in a hot environment. Regarding EMFs, computers, they should not have an adverse effect on the product. They should not have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly a heat source that we should be concerned about.
Okay, fantastic. What about what's the best protocol or way to build back collagen in the body?
Yeah, so now this is actually something that affects everybody. And because collagen is the most abundant protein, and actually there is a extremely important role that collagen plays in the aging process. So in other words, collagen, the collagen production and the loss of collagen from our cells is intimate to aging. So in other words, when we look at how can we reverse the aging process, part of it is linked to restoring collagen production. So the good news is that there's some very easy, good ways to do this. Supplementing with collagen is one way, and collagen supplements are relatively easy to come by these days. There's also some very interesting research on what's called the master amino acid formula. And I don't have time to get into it in any great detail, but this is a combination of a number of amino acids, including the branched chain amino acids. And it will keep the body in a positive nitrogen balance. And as a result, it's an extraordinarily clean way of providing the body with amino acids that will turn into protein, including new collagen. So that's something else. But in any case, supplementing with collagen or master amino acids is one way to do it. The other thing that we want to do is keep our glutathione levels elevated, because glutathione is going to regenerate damaged cartilage and damage collagen in the body. Our Nirvana supplement actually has been shown to increase collagen production in the fibroblasts. X39 copper peptide has been shown to increase collagen production in the body. So yeah, people that are would be interested in optimizing collagen production, you want to make sure you're getting enough dietary protein, you're getting your essential fatty acids, like your omega-3s, monounsaturated fats, getting essential minerals like zinc, selenium. These are all going to help support healthy production of collagen.
Okay. What about help a protocol for building back cartilage and or bone?
So we're doing a research study right now. We just got, yeah, I'm excited about this. I wouldn't normally, I'm going to talk about it to your team, but I wouldn't talk about it publicly normally. But we think we may have found a way to regenerate bone using the patches. And we have, we're looking at women that have osteoporosis. And we want to see, can we reverse osteoporosis that would be considered normal to the aging process. And we just got back the results from the first 10 women that are participating in the study. The statistics are being generated now, so I don't know if it worked or not. But I can tell you if it did work, for sure, we're going to take that product to market in Lifeway, for sure. I'd be very excited about doing that.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, so we think we may have a way of doing that. In the meantime, there are a few supplements, like there's a supplement called Algae Cal, which is an algae-based calcium, and that's highly bioavailable, and it's often recommended for people that are suffering with osteoporosis. A number of key minerals like boron, would be used to strengthen the bone. Vitamin K, and there's MK4 and MK7. You'd want to use both of those because they're going to help with the uptake of calcium into the bone. And as a matter of fact, anyone supplementing with calcium needs to be supplementing with vitamin K. So in other words, if you're taking a lot of calcium, that can have an adverse effect. It can lead to calcification of tissues that you don't want to calcify. So the beauty of taking vitamin K1 and K2 is that this is going to aid in the absorption of calcium into the bone. Needless to say, vitamin D is also, an important part of that. For regenerating cartilage, let's use an example. Let's say that someone has a bad knee. Again, you'd want to make sure that you're getting enough protein, and supplementing with collagen would be a great idea. Since vitamin C is involved in repair of damaged cartilage, taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C 2 or 3 times a day would be good. And then applying X39 and Eon to the site of the injury, or glutathione and Eon to the site of the injury, like the knee, would be very useful. The Eon patch is used to reduce the inflammation, and glutathione will trigger repair of the cartilage. Of course, X39 is going to attract in stem cells. The reason why Eon is important is that when someone has a chronic injury and they have a loss of cartilage, there's going to be a lot of inflammation. And if we don't reduce the inflammation, the stem cells, once they get to the injury site, are not going to last very long. So we need to reduce the inflammation to let the stem cells do their job. I definitely would also recommend people have a diet of avocados, because they're very high in monounsaturated fat, or take extra virgin olive oil, like 1 or 2 tablespoons of real extra virgin olive oil, because those monounsaturated fats are going to help to also control inflammation. And again, then you can let the stem cells do their job.
Nice. Just what a fantastic interview. I've had so much fun. And I love this question that came in. What can we start having major events again in person? We miss each other, and we'd love to get together at least twice a year.
So, we have this new guy, Ryan Anderson, that's on our team, and I really like him a lot, and he and Emily are just amazing together. And so we had a call this week with Tiffany Summer Johnson, she's the young woman that runs our events. So we were talking exactly about that subject. So we want to start having regionals each quarter. And then, of course, we'd have the yearly event. So at the moment, we're planning the events to do them remote so people can visit us online. But we are planning a live event for this year. We want to, before we make any announcements, we want to see how things go with COVID. You probably know in New York, unfortunately, they're implementing the vaccine passport. We're lucky in Florida that Governor DeSantis is banning and prohibiting businesses from implementing a vaccine passport. So we'll just have to see, how this goes.
That just sounds like an Orlando meeting to me. That sounds wonderful. Everybody can get some extra vitamin D.
It does. I think we find everywhere in the country, you have people on both sides of the argument. You have people that are very pro-vaccine. I think a good response to that is, well, please show me the data that shows the vaccine is safe over a period of time, because it doesn't exist. The FDA has not approved vaccinations. They're still experimental drugs. And I think it's unethical for anybody to ask someone to inject them with an experimental drug that doesn't have any proven track record of long-term safety data. It's unethical. And especially since the US government shields pharmaceutical companies from any type of liability. So essentially, Pfizer or Moderna can provide a vaccine, it would kill somebody, and they can't be sued because they're protected by the government. It's an absolutely outrageous situation.
I agree 100%. So just, I don't know if you know this, but Peter and I are going to be in Clearwater, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. We're going to have an open meeting for our group. And interestingly enough, both Ryan and Emily are going to be coming to our meeting, as it turns out. So, of course, everybody on this call is welcome to join if you don't already know about it, which I'm sure you probably do, but I just want to give you a heads up. But I'm looking forward to actually meeting Emily and Ryan in person, as you're the only one I've had the great pleasure of spending so much time with. So I'm looking forward to meeting both of them and spending time. This is really the first time I've done a meeting with everybody again. So I'm looking forward to it. We're suggesting that masks are optional and everybody is a sovereign individual, and you all can do whatever makes you feel comfortable and safe. We support you in that. And I'm looking forward, very, very much looking forward to it. So
I'm looking forward to getting COVID, actually, because I want the COVID antibodies. I'm not sure if with all the copper flowing through my body, I can get COVID at this point. So, but I would love to get COVID so I can get the antibodies so I won't need the vaccine. I think that's going to be my strategy. They're saying maybe if you can prove you've got the COVID antibodies, you don't need the vaccination.
Well, I'm 100% convinced that I had COVID when I came to the convention, LifeWave convention in Vegas on Chinese New Year's. I went home so sick, and that was the end of January. They weren't really talking about COVID until it was mid-February, and I'm absolutely convinced that I actually already had it. So I agree with you. I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the leaders in this team. Marcy and Peter, you all are just such an honor, such a blessing. We've got so many up and coming. Some are already presidentials. Some are just about to become presidentials. We've got Beanie on the call. We've got Bart from Sweden on the call. We have Dr. John Harmon. We have John. We have Dr. Harmon. We have Gerald Lynn, I think, is on the call. There's just so many. This team is absolutely exploding. And it's really an honor to be around a group of people that recognize that all boats rise in a rising tide. And so it's my pleasure to work with each and every one of you and be a part of it. David, thank you so much for your time. Peter, I was going to turn the call back over to you so you could announce what we've got coming up for everybody, besides the live meeting next weekend, which everybody is welcome to come to that would like to. But Peter, you still there?
I am right here. Thank you so much, Onyx. And thank you so much, David. I think each one of these questions just reaffirmed and reassured, and it's good for the, and everybody appreciates these questions. And like we said, we have so many leaders coming up, and including Savi and Dr. John Harmon. On April 23rd, we're actually having a Business Friday podcast with all the leaders next 2 Fridays from now. And that will be a business call, so you can get business tips from all the leaders in the field. And just to let you know, in the next 90 days, there will be some huge rank advancements here, David. So we'd love to celebrate with you live. If we can get you, Onyx and I are going to reach out to you. Maybe we can kidnap you to Vegas.
In May.
Onyx, Peter, Onyx didn't ask me the most important question. It's actually, I'm on a secret mission. It's very late where I am right now, actually.
Ooh.
And I'm out on a secret mission. And I've been working on a new product that I'm really excited about. I've been testing this product myself now for the past few months. It's something new that I've developed. I just filed the patent on it this week. And so I've been meeting with a company about developing the product and then taking it out to LifeWave. So with any luck, you'll be hearing more about it later this year.
So where are you?
I can't say.
Okay.
All I can say is that right now it's very late where I am.
Okay.
You really are a superhero.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Last question, David. Can you tell us in the next 2 or 3 years how many other patches will be coming out? I just wanted to throw that out there.
We have, let's see, there are currently 3 new patches that are in clinical studies. And there are more that I've developed that have made it through the lab, but have not made it into the clinical studies yet. There is another product that I've invented that is a stem cell product that's not a patch. And that product is in testing. That's a very interesting product that you might hear about sooner than later. And there is another product. I have to be careful how much I say.
That's enough. That's enough for us.
I would say there are 3 new products that we have that are ready to go, that we're trying to figure out when we want to release them. The big challenge is we don't want to step on the momentum of X39.
Correct.
And
Exactly.
so part of the challenge is we're really excited about the benefits of these products. It would be almost criminal not to release them, but we're trying to figure out how do we do that so we don't defocus the field. And we want people to be excited about it, but we want everybody focused on X39. So these are kind of discussions, that we have. But we have, I'd say we have 3 products that we could market this year, but we won't, because we'll stage those releases. I think that's a good way to put it.
Awesome.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the answer.
And they're all stem cell products, by the way.
Oh, wow.
All 3 are stem cell products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to tease the Quantum Field X39 team for you. And everyone, the lucky number of attendance today is 397. So if you pick 397 or close to it, put your name down, text us. You want a free X39. And David, on behalf of Quantum Field X39 team, we thank you. Everyone, please unmute yourself and give David a really nice, warm.
Thank you. We love you. Yeah.
Really great.
Everybody, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.